Hey, I'm Gary, and welcome to another segment of Interviews with Experts. I'm joined today by Dr. Stephen DeWitt, Toronto sexologist. And Stephen, I wanted to ask you, women and men cheat, but I think it's probably true that men cheat more than women. Should we start there, or?
We can start there.
Okay, well, let's just start with the question, why are we cheating? Why are we cheaters, us men?
Okay.
Some of us men.
Some of us men, absolutely. There's so many reasons why. It can be on any end of the spectrum of, I'm not being emotionally supported by my partner, to men are dogs.
Right.
Right? And anything in between are going to be reasons. And I think that is just kind of natural for each unique situation is going to have a unique motivator for why that person steps out of the relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's tons of things out there of why men cheat, but really when we get underneath all of this and get to the heart of why men are cheating is because within the relationship there's no space to be honest. And what I mean by that is, if we look at a relationship and we all evolve, and I talked about this in earlier segments. We all evolve, and there's an allowance for us to evolve in different areas of our life, but not sexually. And we are evolutionary beings, and as men, we evolve, and things change for us. What turns us on, what turns us off? Kinks, fetishes, different things that we see, and we want to be able to explore that, right? And then within the relationship, there's no space to really express that. There's no place for that to be communicated to a partner. Because we are so rigid in the patterning and sexual habits that we have, that anything outside of that, there's that fear of being judged or made wrong, mm-hmm. right? As well as we look on the other side where it's like, I'm not being emotionally supported by my partner. Well, again, it's that space within the relationship to be able to communicate that. Mm-hmm. And to be able to say, hey, yeah, I am vulnerable and I am insecure and I am weak and this is who I am and this is really what's going on for me. But again, we've been socialized that this is the way we have to be and this is the right way that we have to be, and there's really no space to have that conversation in a relationship.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's interesting. So those are a couple of reasons. What about, are men dogs? Are there any other reasons that men cheat, or are there such a thing as habitual cheaters?
There's men who, do cheat habitually, right? There's no doubt about that. I wouldn't say that men are dogs. I don't think that, right? I think that there's just those men don't have an avenue or don't have a relationship where that they're able to do that, or they haven't been able to kind of balance or find the partner who's going to be able to love and accept them for that. And then we get into the space of, well, what's the difference between cheating and what's the difference between consensual non-monogamy?
Right.
Okay, so then we start looking at what is cheating. Okay, so cheating is being sexual with someone other than your partner, mm-hmm. okay, on a very, very base level, mm-hmm. right? And often when you talk to people who have been cheated upon, and I'm one of them, it's not necessarily the sexual act in and of itself, but it's everything that goes around with it. Sure. So the lying, the manipulation, the deceit,
mm-hmm.
right? That's the stuff that just violates the relationship. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. So when I talk to people, and I want all people to have a great, healthy sex life, whatever that means to them, it's really about creating that space in the relationship about what really works and what doesn't work for them sexually. Mm-hmm. So there isn't that lying, manipulation, and deceit that goes with it. But hey, you know what? This is something that I'm thinking of, or this is something that I'm curious about, and I want to discuss this with you. Mm-hmm. But having that conversation is so challenging. Right? Because of how we've been conditioned and how we've been socialized to be able to relate to, each other.
Well, this is a really interesting topic and very unfortunately commonplace out there, I think. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to keep going with this if I could, and just ask you if, I think that most individuals after they cheat experience a level of contrition. They're sad that they did it. They wish they didn't. They would like to not do it again. What can men do to stop themselves, prevent themselves from being tempted to cheat for whatever reason it was?
Yeah, and great question. And I would agree with you that, most people, there is some remorse afterwards. For other people, there isn't. And that's just, again, just respecting everybody is unique in the way they sexually express themselves. But yeah, how can men, look at that being like, well, I cheat and I feel terrible afterwards, so something's wrong there. And how do I curb that? And I think part of it is just really understanding and acknowledging and being honest with yourself about what's going on. And often sex is when it's unhealthy or it's misunderstood, so we're going to assume that in a cheating relationship that is, it's an indicator for other things that are going on in the relationship, right? And so really what it takes a man to be able to do is sit down and be like, well, what's really going on for me? And the three things, again, that I talk about as far as core values are honesty, respect, and safety. And I often get people saying, oh yeah, Stephen, that totally makes sense. I totally get it. I'm like that with all my partners. And I say, no, you're not. And they kind of look at me and they're like, yeah, I am. And I'm like, no, you're not. And they're like, well, yeah, I am. And I'm like, no, because the honesty, the respect, and safety first starts with yourself. Right? It doesn't start with the other partner. That's the second step. But you really need to be honest with yourself about really what's going on. And sometimes that's really scary around sex. Because, we have all these things about, I say we look at sex in 3D, right? And that's not the awesome 3D porn that's out there now, right? But sex is dirty, it's dangerous and degrading.
Right.
So we have all this messaging that, wow, I can't really be honest. And I can't really spend time with myself and figuring out what that is. But I really encourage people to do that. So man, take some time and be honest with yourself about what is it, what works, what doesn't work. And then respect yourself for having those feelings and then those emotions surrounding what's going on for yourself. And then being safe about them. So what does safety mean, right? That means psychologically safe, that means physically safe. Safety can be all encompassing. And once you've done that kind of work, then it's about communicating that with your partner, right? And if there is a fundamental divide about where you are and where your partner is, then that's fine, but let's be honest about it. Let's eliminate the lying, the manipulation, and the deceit that's in there. Let's be really honest. And I find when people can get past that deceit, that lying, that manipulation, and being able to really connect with their partner, and their partner gets them, and if their partner, can love them and accept them for that, there is a space there for them to be able to work through that. Right? But it takes a lot of work. It takes really getting into really what's going on for you.
Yeah, a lot more of a deeper subject than the surface of just cheating, right?
Yes.
Absolutely. I see someone.
Sorry, I took it from here to here.
It's a really interesting subject, and I thank you for your great advice and insights, especially for our viewers. So, Stephen, if any of our viewers would like to get a hold of you and get some more expert advice, how can they do that?
Absolutely. Gary, people can go to my website, drdewit.com. That's DRDEWIT.com, and from there, Twitter, newsletters, email, find out when I'm speaking next, and I'd love to hear from everybody.
Excellent. Stephen, thanks very much for joining me today. Thanks to our viewers for joining us for another segment of Interviews with Experts.